It's a green light, so that's a good start. Okay. And we're live for however long this lasts. And Trups understands this. For those who now don't know, my internet's being really gay. Broadband is out, so I'm having to use my phone and now my tablet as a hotspot to do the stream through OBS. Yay. I'm sure this is going to go so well. So fucking well. As it is 2 weeks, I believe, until Parliament is out of recess, joining me to discuss some political crap is Trups. Say hello, Trups.
Hello, Trups.
Good boy. And we have a few topics, but unfortunately, again, I'm using my tablet as a tether. Hotspot, sorry. Same thing, isn't it? Doesn't matter. I'm not going to be able to screen share any of the things we're going to talk about. Which sucks. It does. And there is a risk that the stream might die at any point. But, EE need to fix this. And I hope they do tomorrow. Yes, hopefully. I'm going to call them anyway because it went out after they had closed their offices. So I can't, or could not, call them at the time. Yeah. Anyway, how you been, Trups?
I've been alright. I get a vacation tomorrow until Monday. It's Labor Day, so.
You sound like absolute shit on my end. Already I'm concerned. As a thing, if people can't hear the roboting as well and this stream does end up going down, what I'll do is set up a Google Hangout instead, which is shit. We'll see. So, did you want to take the first topic? I believe it's your Trump investigation into Trump's claims of rigged Google results against him. Trups?
Oh, there it is. There, I'm here. Hey.
What happened?
Don't know. My internet, or at least my Discord, decided it didn't want to be here.
Oh, right. So that wasn't on my end. Fantastic.
Nope, that was me.
Yes, I'm so happy.
Don't worry.
Okay.
I suck too.
Okay. Well, the first topic is the investigation into Trump's claims of rigged Google results, and I thought you could cover it because I didn't look at it because my internet died.
Okay. Well, I have to actually use the version. Keep reading for $1. Fuck you, Washington Post. I swear to God. Yeah. So Donald Trump decided he wanted to Google himself.
Trups. You're roboting again.
That's not me at this time.
It must be an intermittent problem.
Mm.
Well, you sound okay now. Try again.
Yeah, I'm trying to take a look. Give me a second on this.
That's okay. I can pull up the YouTube link for this stream because I haven't put it on the server yet.
Do that real quick.
Yeah, here we are. Hopefully this isn't too bad. If it's dying, it's Mr. Robot, right? Oh, dear.
We might want to hang out just to do the voice at least.
You sure?
Yeah, just to at least do proper voice chat.
Hang on a second. What I'll do is I'll quickly go to Hangouts and set one up and give you the link. Right. This might resolve the problem. Who knows? Right. Trups. I do apologise to chat. Right. There's a Hangout link. Go to it. And then I'll mute myself on here. We'll find out when you join if it's working or not. So while he figures that out, let's go to chat. There is an intermittent delay from Discord. Hello. Oh, that's better.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so if people can hear Trups in the chat, can you please press 1 and you also keep speaking. So start reading, talking. Yes.
Whoa, okay, hold on. Ooh, backing up. Hello,
Hello.
everyone.
Hello.
Here's me.
Yep, one. We're good. Go.
All right, cool. Awesome.
Shit.
So, Trump thinks. Um, yeah, so Trump decided he wanted to Google himself in the middle of the night, which is a smart idea for anybody who's ever been in a political office ever.
Oh God. How much of a narcissist are you that you do that?
You're a Trump level narcissist, which is great. And
It's over
he
9,000.
but he was noticing something that I think we've all kind of noticed while we were on this platform is that he and other conservative networks are being shunted from the front page of Google results.
Mm-hmm.
And he is criticizing Google for having, cherry picking the articles from left leaning sites like CNN, MSNBC, etc., and providing negative coverage for him.
Well, that's I don't know if that's true or not. Obviously, I'd need to put on a fedora for this, covered in tin foil. But there is a political bias that we know about. The most mainstream outlets are left leaning. I know someone's not going to say, "Oh, what about the right that do this?" I'm sorry, but this honestly, you're picking. The people who say that usually pick the things I've not heard of because they're not in the mainstream. And obviously with, for example, Alex Jones, he would be considered a right-wing news source of sorts. I'd argue more entertainment. And by the way, just to throw this in there, right? I googled Infowars earlier, and if you look at their if you do this on Google Infowars, right, and the first underneath their website link, it says CNN to announce YouTube, Google, Facebook, lifting the ban on Infowars or something. But there's no article. It's a great, either it's a troll, a really good one, or it's a really well hidden article. Because I searched that website, and all I found was brain force and soy.
But you know what's funny? If you go down, and you'll notice that New York Times is the first thing that comes up after its Wikipedia page, and then Huffington Post. Yeah. A little further down. So
they're very left leaning. And by the way, Dibby, you are right. That's why I say they're more of a entertainment source. But as far as right wing news sources go, they are not. There aren't many right leaning ones that are considered or get much mainstream attention. In this country, we do have the Daily Mail. That is quite well known. Yes. But the majority of the other mainstream news outlets are heavily left leaning. And we're even talking about the BBC. And I earlier this week made a video on public interest journalism. This concept is dangerous because it reeks of political influence. Which if, for example, Corbyn, who, oh dear God, if he has a job by the end of next week, I'll be very surprised. If Corbyn was in charge, it would be a very left-leaning influence on what is considered public interest journalism, which would say if we do have any influence on Google, which I'm not convinced, it would, if true, mean that all we would see are those public interest pieces. I'm not convinced about Trump's claim. I argue that from what I know, algorithms are affected by popular searches.
Yes and no. Both.
I don't know enough though, to be fair, so help me.
I would say that, well, okay, so YouTube is currently owned by Google. And we know how YouTube is handling right-leaning voices and, conservative news outlets either in our neck of the woods or even, just the idea that they had that whole, gun thing not too long ago.
Gun thing.
It was basically the idea that, if you showed how to use, operate, or clean guns, you could be removed from YouTube.
Oh yeah, because I watched the okay, so there is a gun channel I watch called the Military Arms Channel, and I quite like watching whoever that guy is. Tim, is it? Yeah, Tim.
Yeah.
I enjoy watching him do that. I like the bargain gun stuff especially.
Right. But it's basically that which conservatives are going for. They're trying to push away from the public eye. Maybe not censor entirely, but definitely not preface it, or at least not give it the fair option to be seen.
Right.
Mark Dice actually did a similar check on this. He literally YouTube searched his own title to a video, and it was on the 17th page of YouTube
that's
results.
impressive. I'm not surprised, because if it's let's go with it being his most popular video, it then has to compete with the article with the most hits, unless in those 17 pages there was some massive discrepancy in hits. Then
were.
Oh, in that case, then fuck it.
He has some million subs, and in this case, it was his view had, I think, 1.2 million hits, and CNN videos that had less than 200,000 were getting first page results.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah,
that is embarrassing.
But at least it kind of does give credence to what Trump is saying. As much as people want to say, "Oh, this is a conspiracy theory" and all that stuff,
there are enough small things that do start to, lend some credibility to those claims. But I still want to remain somewhat skeptical of this, if that's okay. Actually, that's a question. I've got a question for you then. Would you agree that the majority of mainstream media news sources, the ones that are most well known in your country and mine, are heavily left-leaning?
I would say the vast majority, yeah.
Okay, so from that, going on to Mark Dice, who isn't he conservative?
Yes.
Right. So there are a number of and that's a good point, Dippy. They do the whole deem most relevant thing, which seems like a subjective program, or just someone sitting there going, "Yeah, no." Okay, so with people like Mark Dice, Steven Crowder, I can't think of any other mainstream, like YouTube mainstream conservatives. But as they get bigger and bigger, maybe add that white Canadian with the Asian eyes, roaming millennial, who hasn't made me my sandwich yet. Attack her, everyone. Just attack her on Twitter. As they get bigger and bigger, because they are. Look at Crowder. Last year, he started the year with 200,000. Now he's got a few million.
Crowder, absolutely.
Yeah. As they get bigger and bigger, these people are going to become the conservative voices. And do you see them becoming more mainstream, not just on YouTube, but in the wider media public sphere?
Well, I think the reason why our media are primarily left-wing is because a lot of the right-wing has been pushed underground. Do you remember...
It had during what was deemed like the culture wars. The left has always won it.
Well,
because they had a leg to stand on.
Do you remember the whole religious right, in the early 2000s and the 90s?
Yeah,
and even before then.
I grew up without religion, but I watched it.
Right, but Marilyn Manson, for example, he basically portrayed this character of anti-religious right. So it spurned on a strong understanding from the youth of that generation to lean more left and stay away from the right. And they've grown up now and created their news organizations. Yeah. But if you think about it, we've got plenty of conservatives when you think of the Daily Wire and Breitbart and Steven Crowder's CRTV. You have the Rubin Report. I mean, I can name off.
Isn't he a liberal?
Rubin?
Yeah.
No, he's just gay.
Okay. Fucking hell. I always thought he was.
No, but he's very smart though. He's
a liberal.
Good resource.
Okay.
No.
Dippy in the chat points out something interesting. It's actually the point I made, really. The left had the best ideas, which is no longer the case. I always argue it's because the left originally were fighting the right battles. But now the battles don't exist anymore. It's a case of clutching at straws and then making a mountain out of those straws. It's a mountain of straw and it doesn't stack up. It gets blown away. There's no credibility to most of it. And hello, Carlos.
Oh, no. Yeah, but yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, they're trying to still fight the fight after the war is over.
Well, that's why, for example, like say 2015 to 2017, social justice, feminism on the internet just got beaten the fuck off. It got beaten because their
Good
arguments.
choice of words. Beaten off. We're beating off feminism, everyone.
No,
Beating them
beaten
off.
the fuck off. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Don't leave the
Oh, my
profanity out.
apologies.
This isn't some kid-friendly channel. I'm not monetized. Can't you
Neither
see?
am I.
See, no super chat. It's only been 2 months. Only been 2 months, everyone. It only takes a month or a week originally. Fuck you. Oh, where was I going with that? I was going to say something and I've totally forgotten.
We were in the left, had battles.
Yeah, okay, so
And they were
2015 to
fighting the right one.
2017, social justice was getting absolutely smashed all over YouTube. And now they've lost. The groups don't really, like, the channels that made the biggest videos don't really put out anything of note anymore because they've learnt their lesson, you think. They've shifted it to mainstream. They've either shifted it to mainstream and, well, they lost the battle really on mainstream but have doubled down. And by that I mean Brexit and Trump happened. The left used to be actually be liberal. Yeah, now they're ultra leftists, and I say, yeah, it's complicated, I guess. So yeah, what do you?
But yeah, so
go on.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
Basically saying that, I mean, back to the original article, I think Trump has the point. So the fact that he's taking notice of it and making the media kind of scramble a little bit.
Have they scrambled?
A little bit. Google is trying to say no, we don't do that, but pretty much, the people on the YouTube side of things definitely know that. I mean, they're full of shit.
Well, yeah. He's been calling him out left, right, and centre. I know he rephrased his original tweet, to just make it a bit more not politically correct, but direct his attack very specifically. The link to that article, the one we're referencing, is the first article linked in the description underneath Trups' channel. Go subscribe. And I think it's really damning with certain coordinated attacks. It all, unfortunately, even though they're isolated instances, they've happened over a very short space of time. And it really does get your noggin jogging, sort of, has you thinking a bit. Do conservatives have a place on a platform that is starting to show a bias, or has shown a bias very publicly, whereas it may not have before? As well, anyway.
Yeah, I would say so, though, because they're definitely taking it to the next level.
I think it's... I'm not... And I have to keep saying this, I'm not a conservative. Shut the fuck up, people who think that. I think one of the best things people who are conservatives on this platform can do is to just keep doing what you're doing. Ignore it and just it's almost like the old stiff upper lip thing. Just carry on. Keep calm, carry on. There you go. You have a wrench disc now. That's because I am not going to allow the heresy that may come out of Dibula's mouth. You know what it is. If he says it, you know what to do.
Oh, I know what's going on here.
I'll time you the fuck out as well if you say it. I figured we'd move on to your next one because I figured, fuck it. Let's move on to Lanny Davis, is it?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this again, so I thought, there you go, paint a picture.
Yeah. Okay. So here in the U.S., there was a story that Michael Cohen's lawyer, Lanny Davis.
Hello.
There now?
Still fine on my end.
Yeah, it cut out for a second.
Oh, did it? It cut out on the Hangout as well. I switched on my tablet to Twitter because I got tagged on something. I apologize. Apparently that triggered the fucking internet.
Ah, yes. But anyway, so Lanny Davis is Michael Cohen's attorney, and there was a story on CNN that Trump knew about the true intention of the Trump Tower meeting, which is where Trump's son allegedly met with Russian officials to get dirt on Hillary Clinton.
Is this Baron Trump or Trump Jr.?
Trump Jr.
Right. So yeah, Baron's a
Um,
bit young. I just thought I'd clarify that.
yeah. Yes, Trump Jr. Not Baron Trump. That'd be great.
I would be.
But basically, the entire thing was that CNN had an anonymous source
Mm-hmm.
that Cohen knew about the information and was prepared to tell Mueller and the entire legal team about this crazy bombshell of a news story. And then it was corroborated by Lanny Davis on one of their segments. But, and this is a big but, Lanny Davis was the anonymous source.
Lol.
So he had to then it then came out because a couple people in the higher ups of the other parts of the news industry, they were like, wait, we can't do it this bad. We have to start retracting. And Lanny Davis came out and he said, yes, I was an anonymous source. Yes, I did then corroborate on CNN when I had absolutely no idea. And in fact, I can't prove any of this. But CNN, they refuse to retract it. They don't believe it's false.
I don't know what to say to this.
Well, it definitely makes everything funny when you think about how CNN has been defending themselves on their segments almost every fucking day.
Have they really?
Yes, against people who are like, you're fake news, and they were like, how dare you? And we're like, no, for real, you are.
Don't they just why don't they just own the fake news thing? Or, I don't know, get some credibility. You could probably buy it off George Soros for a couple billion.
Because they weren't asked to say that on air, I imagine.
You've got to. How much are you getting paid? To lie, to just keep lying, to double down on your lies, even if you yourself know, it's not right.
Ooh, that's a good one. You know what? Let me Google Chris Cuomo's net worth, and I'll tell you.
Really, Chris Cuomo.
Chris Cuomo's net worth is $9 million with a $4 million salary. So that's how much.
Fucking knew it. I knew. Fucking $1 million man was right. Everybody's got a price. That's tragic, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
You're fake news, and now you're having to defend fake news. I don't know what to say to that. It's embarrassing.
It is, and it's especially sad when you consider all these people had to go through a journalism's ethics class when they were trying to become journalists.
See, that's actually something I mentioned in my video. If they're going to introduce, when Corbyn suggested public interest journalism and investing money into it and creating independent watchdogs for it, I was concerned that it would be politically biased, but also whether or not they'll be held to any ethical code, whether there would be set rules in place. And I generally think, there are certain rules, like you can't libel or slander someone. So if you're absolutely wrong, you can't do that. You are sued for it. That's why a lot of news sources have to pay a lot of money to keep very, very good lawyers on retainer. Because of that. But if you're
entire legal teams.
But if you're blatantly lying, you've got to be held to a standard. And this is where it gets very complicated, because you want your press to be free, but you want them to abide certain rules. And the rules are genuinely not passing off fake news.
Right.
And I'm surprised CNN hasn't just come up with a t-shirt yet which has "We're not fake news" on it. Unless it already exists. I'm going to have a look.
Yeah, here, you don't break the stream.
Fake news t-shirt. Amazon. Oh no, there are t-shirts on like Redbubble, Autee, Zazzle. The Autee, AUTEE, CNN #fake news C is a hammer and sickle.
Oh,
I
that's
like that.
amazing.
CNN fake news and the fake news is written in the same font as the CNN logo. You know, the two red lines.
Yes.
Yep, you got crappy news network as well. But no,
I
no,
see the FNN, the fake news network.
yeah. I suppose I haven't seen Bear News Network yet. But yeah, there's no official CNN T-shirt for it. What a shame.
Too busy paying Chris Cuomo $4 million.
Well, after tax, I'm sure it goes. What's tax rate? Is it New York he works in? So it's probably what 30%.
Yes, it is.
30% on that. So he takes home probably.
Unless he owns property, in which case he can make it tax deductible.
In the UK, the way to deal with that is to simply create a business and then pay business tax instead and take a dividend. Because business tax is 21%.
It works kind of the same here.
Yeah, so even then he's taking home $3 million realistically.
So, without a doubt.
That's not. But then again, living in New York probably costs that much to live for an average family. You never know.
That's probably fair. Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, I have a nice Manhattan apartment. I can afford a coffee. How much is it? $200,000. It's better be a fucking good coffee.
Yeah, you only get one.
Yeah. Oh dear. Amazon tax rates, yes. And as we all know, everyone, taxation is theft. Right.
I thought that was the thing that you were going to time out Dibula for.
Oh no. He's not allowed to shit on. He's not allowed to shit on tea. That's what he does it a lot. We're not allowed that. We'll have no hate speech in this stream.
I see.
You linked me a YouTube video called "Brainwashed Trump Supporter Will Blow Your Mind." Now I wanted to play this so we could go through it. Obviously, I can't. So can you help?
Right.
Me? So what happened? Anna Kasparian's on my screen right now, not on everyone else's. But what is she? What is this?
Oh my God! It is the greatest doublethink about basically the Young Turks criticizing a Trump supporter for basically that he's an evangelical, one of the ones that Trump recently was telling that if the Democrats get elected, there will be violence because people like Antifa won't be satisfied.
Right.
Which is fair. And it basically they go through his comments and then run it back and start double thinking the old Antifa aren't bad people because it's the right that's actually instigating it.
It's interesting they say that because from most of the cases I have seen where Antifa have attacked the right have done a peaceful march, which is typically what they are, march or rally, for whatever reason it doesn't matter, and then Antifa have attacked them, and Antifa have broken the law in the process because they're not doing a counter protest because obviously they'd have to be a protester in the first place for it to be a counter protest. Seriously, not a counter protest, it's a protest. But since it wasn't legal, it's a mob descending upon a peaceful march and or rally. Therefore, that's not true, and Antifa gets a bad rap because of their action. This is the same as the internet and bedroom feminists of 2015 to 2017. Your actions are what we judge you on. You say, for example, feminism said, we fight for equality of the sexes, here's the definition. But then the actions would contradict it. Antifa say they are anti-fascist, but they are using violence to get their point across, which by definition is fascism.
And the best part is that they have no credible evidence that the right instigates violence, except for Charlottesville.
Yeah,
one person in Charlottesville.
That one guy in that one car who did that one, and I'll say this now. He did. The media did a fantastic job of painting him as an avatar for the entire. Was it nationalist movement?
Sure.
Yeah.
White nationalism.
Yeah.
Sure.
They did a fantastic job doing that, but he did not represent the rest of them because the rest of them condemned him.
Yes.
They didn't say, "Congratulations, you just killed someone. Thank you. Yes, we'll get our ethno state in Alaska."
Yeah, but you know who actually was probably more excited that something like that happened?
Your mum?
The left. The left.
It's not your mum, huh?
Nah, probably not.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what her politics are at the moment anymore.
I don't know what to say to that. I'll call
That's
her.
okay. Oh yeah, do that. Let me know.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that you are right. There was a certain, like vindication. We're right. We are correct. No, and I mean, oh god, rephrase it. We're correct. The right is fucking evil. These white nationalists, racist, fascists. Get them.
Look at them.
Get
They
them,
killed
Antifa.
somebody.
Get them.
Yeah, and basically they were able to run with it and had more of a time, painting this picture and finally getting what they wanted out of, one of these rallies
Mm-hmm.
than everybody else who is actually like, oh my god, somebody died.
It's interesting.
This is terrible.
The same. Obviously, it was a horrific thing what that guy did, and I is he still alive? That dickhead.
I don't know. I don't really care about him.
I hope he is, because I want him in prison for the rest of his life. Of course I do. I want him to suffer in a tiny, tiny damp cell where he gets infections and dies in agony. Okay, that's what I want. Fuck rehabilitation at that point. He did something truly heinous.
We can send him to a British prison and tell the prisoners that he's anti-Muslim.
Hi, Socky. Socky says hi to TrupsLP.
TrupsLP.
And Omegon. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. But nope, lost it. It's gone. Fuck it.
Yep, that's okay. Basically, I may look at this video again and make a video on it eventually, but
You should. I mean, you've grown 50 subs today.
yes, I can't imagine whose fault that was.
Yeah, some dickhead, no doubt.
Yes.
Maybe it's because my video didn't reach 10 minutes and I needed that extra minute or two.
Extra minute or two. It went for 16 minutes.
No. Yeah, well, your video was quite long. I didn't cut
It was
much
only
out.
6.5 minutes.
Just saying.
Oh, Jesus.
Thank you, ad revenue. What even are you anyway? I don't get ads. Fuck. Ah, yes, Socky,
Jesus.
the animation. I look forward to seeing that. Okay, so Young Turks basically being fake news, yeah?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, I'm going to risk my internet for something. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Right. So the video is Theresa May dances at South African secondary school. Are you ready for this?
I don't know, but do it.
It's so bad. She dances like a man with arthritis. Oh my god.
Somebody
She
needs to
looks so
shift this.
awkward. Oh my god, what the fuck is she doing? I mean, I get that some people get into it. I really do. I'm stopping this now. Because I want to move on to another one of her dancing. Yes, there's another one. Oh, here we go. Yes, look at these moves. Oh, yes. I've just realised she has really long legs and a really short torso. I know this because her arms are as long as her legs.
Holy shit. Oh no.
Oh, I'm done with this shit. Oh, that's so good. Oh, you're all welcome, chat. You are all so very welcome.
This is why they kill white people.
It really is. Disabled dinosaurs. Yes.
Christ.
Okay, I want to be quite clear. Obviously, I don't want to say that, people shouldn't dance. But if you're going to, be sure you can dance before you start to dance. I think it's important
or at least give it 110%.
Based on what really accentuated her movements was the fact that people around her were a lot more limber and capable and flowed a bit more with their movements. There was a more natural flow to it. She moved like her brain wasn't switched on, like her brain and the body weren't coordinated. It was basically Oh, this looks interesting. I'm a fucking puppet. I'm waving my arms and no one can see me do this.
I'm gonna do the thing now. Here I go.
You know who she reminds me of her dancing? Right.
I don't know.
And this it reminds me of Chandler Bing
I don't know what that is.
from Friends.
Oh dear.
His dancing on Friends. I'm gonna quickly go and find it.
Oh.
Because it's appropriate. Chandler
I mean,
Bing, and there's a reason I'm bringing all this up. It's
oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't understand the way you pronounced Chandler.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I was like, why don't I understand
Okay,
what you're saying?
right, I have it. Right. I'm not going to put the audio on because I'll get a strike. But yeah.
Yeah.
That's... oh, fuck the advert. See, look at those moves. Oh, look at them move. That's Theresa May. Can someone please meme that for me? Mime that shit.
Mime,
yeah, okay.
Yes.
So the reason we bring this up is because Theresa May this week has been in South Africa securing trade deals post-Brexit, which isn't entirely true at all. She's just been reaffirming already pre-existing deals that existed as while we were members of the EU, but instead having them shift to us directly instead of going through the EU to us as they did before. Which...
But how do you make post-Brexit deals without Brexit being done?
Can't sign off on it, but you can have the deal in place to sign off on it on what is being charitably called D-Day. Theresa May has basically been... she's been called out for this because the deal looks like a rollover instead of an already existing EU agreement.
Oh my god, Saki. Oh my god.
What's he fucking said?
I almost lost my drink because of that.
People assume it was May dancing. Little do they know it was her Wi-Fi vibrator set up for when Corbyn calls. I thought maybe it'd probably be funnier if it was for when Corbyn gets called anti-Semitic, because that's been going apeshit recently.
Fucking hell, Saki.
Yeah. Anyway, the critics said of the announcement, it fell short of the boasts before the referendum. They also pointed out it came amid doubts whether the UK will be able to retain deals the EU has struck recently with Canada and Japan, which is understandable because we haven't got those deals at all. They're not actually deals yet until they're signed. They're just essentially a gentleman's agreement at best.
Right.
And Theresa May's been going off on one about how successful it is. I wanted to show a picture of her with President Ramaphosa, but they're all happy and smiling, and I'm thinking to myself, how is this president okay talking to a white person when I know he's just recently taken the current attempt to retake land of white farmers off the table, but it's not because the deal was shit and he wants to save face. He's doing it because he wants to make it so that he can actually just take it, without any kind of protest or anything. He just wants the land back. He's just trying to redo the deal so that it's absolutely concrete.
Do you know that the United States is hardly reporting on this?
Nor is the UK. And it's really embarrassing because obviously it's not in our nation's interest to talk on behalf of other countries unless we think they've got chemical weapons, in which case if we don't get what we want with the UN, we're going to fucking bomb the cunts. Because that's...
Every time.
That's logic. Excuse me. By the way, I don't really care about the deal. I know that we do need to make up for a deficit. I know that if we don't, we, like the EU, will suffer. If there's no deal in place, both suffer. It's a fact. But, and it's important, that this deal is not as big of a deal as she wants to paint it to be. It's a step forward, and it shows that she is doing something to help get deals in place. But it's not a very big deal, and we're still going to be investing $4 billion in their countries, in some of the countries in that region, to help with poverty. So,
well, I mean, you're quote unquote investing in their country to help poverty, but in fact, the country is probably just interested in getting cheap labor
and to take back those farms. So yeah.
Yeah.
I don't support the taking of the farms in the way that has been described in the original legislation. And if it is going to be as suspected, a more cemented way of, or more forcible way of doing so when the new draft is brought forward, I definitely don't support it. I know the whole apartheid thing, or white people make up 8% or 9% or whatever the fucking low percentages of the South African population, but make up nearly 80% of the farmers, is used as an argument to somehow mean more representation in farming. It's not a good enough excuse. Yes, okay, you want your more indigenous people to be those who are responsible for your agriculture. But clearly, this works. This current system works. There's nothing wrong with it. You are the one making the issue of race because you are calling them intruders. And it's a really interesting cultural debate about whether or not race really matters. It shouldn't matter, but it does in cultures that don't live by our cultures. And that's not to say for a second race doesn't matter or shouldn't matter in your country or my country. I personally don't think it should matter, but it does to a lot of people who still think narrow-mindedly about race. Hashtag fuck race realism.
It just makes me think about the Haitian slave revolt and how shitty the farming went after the Haitian slaves ended up rising up and killing their masters.
Well,
and
then they didn't know what to do.
Right, and then they destroyed their own agriculture.
It's not a justification of what happened to them. But
no, of course not.
But this forcible taking of land stuff in this current climate, I don't know what South Africa's like politically and socially as well. I've watched a few documentaries and they are quite damning of treatment of white people since the whole apartheid thing. Yeah, it's quite astonishing just how much racism there is. But people don't talk about it because they think it's valid. But no.
It's really hard to say, because as opposed to commenting on race in my own country or your own country, it's a little bit more close, so it's easier to speculate. This one is so minimal on its reporting and so minimal with my understanding of the area that I couldn't begin to try and speculate what that nation feels about the farmers or the idea of living post-apartheid. Man, it's hard to kind of like drum up a valid conclusion as to. I mean, it's very easy to say that the killing of farmers and retaking of land is not the way to go. But it is hard then to say afterwards that the way they acquired the land in the first place may not have been fair either. That's where I agree with the just compensation clause in the original Constitution.
Yeah. So the reclamation of land thing that South Africa brought forward, if they had suggested they buy the land off the farmers, I support that. That's fine. If they give them an option to buy them out. Oh shit! OBS is being special. I see.
But running them out at gunpoint, that's not the way to do it.
No, I agree absolutely. There was a BBC article I haven't linked, which on it shows like Africa trade volumes in like US dollar, with like 305 billion in trade for the EU, 188 billion to China, 53 billion to the US, and 36 billion to us. So about 25 billion pounds. But then it shows UK trade with South Africa and exports to South Africa, and it's all pretty big numbers. But as far as GDP goes, this isn't actually that big at all. It made to look more impressive as a deal, but the deal itself is quite small. And we've got quite a large deficit. Well, not deficit, really. We have a lot of trade... Okay, trade deficit, not budget deficit. We have a lot of trade deficits to plug. I still maintain we'd be able to do that with America, to be honest. I should probably link that, actually. I'll link this in the stream for people. For those that are interested in looking at the... and Wakanda for everyone. Wakanda for everyone. Forever, everyone, yes. Anyone's interested in looking at the numbers, it is interesting. It's just... It's not as grand as it's being portrayed. It's great a trade deal is happening, but honestly, no.
I think the fact that we're still seeing reports of, I mean, there was one article that displayed like elderly farmers that had gotten absolutely like pummeled by people who were retaking their farm. It was disturbing and it was completely uncalled for, to the point where you kind of look at that and you go, now how the fuck hasn't a human rights coalition stepped in to be like, hey guys, maybe don't beat the shit out of old people?
I've seen that. That is disturbing. Why? It's not productive, and it just makes you look even worse. And okay, the media isn't gonna, and this is actually where there is a media bias. It's a most certainly a racially motivated one as well. Why portray the poor, defenseless white elderlies as victim when you could just say, let South Africa take all that land back because black people need their properties. We was Kangs, everyone, and of course slowly allow them to continue coming over to the United Kingdom and rest of continental Europe as economic migrants because they fucked up their farmland like Zimbabwe and then realized they're fucked.
What a sad thing Zimbabwe was. Zimbabwe used to be just like, it was a growing city and it looked great, and then shit just went to hell.
Bring back Rhodesia. I by the way, I didn't know what Rhodesia was until someone told me about 3 months ago, and I was like, huh, okay. So I guess I'll just bin this 1 million Zimbabwean dollar note then. It's worth what, 2p? I still think we need to bring back the shilling, but I'm being shouted down on that.
Aren't we shilling right now? Doing streams?
Well, yes. Streamlabs.com. Fucking hell. With the Zimbabwe thing, I always found it fascinating that they've never recovered from it. It showed that there was a mistake made, and they've not managed to rebuild because they fucked up. Even with a new president who's equally corrupt, they're not back. They're not going to be. If South Africa does it as well, yes, even if they have the farms in place and all the equipment in place, they could survive it, but it's unlikely.
Well, the idea of like I forget the actual word for it, but it's when all of your able-bodied and intelligent citizens move to another country to get a better chance at getting more money.
I don't know what it's called, but I know a load of South African farmers, white farmers, have gone to Russia, and they were welcomed with open arms.
I wonder if Zimbabwe, during the whole revolution, lost a lot of its, its intellectuals to other countries, and that's honestly why it hasn't been able to rebuild, because the infrastructure for those people in those positions of engineering and science and mathematics just aren't there.
See, that is a curious question. There is another one I had about the farmers and the reclamation of land. In that, is President, whatever the fuck's his name is, President Black Guy, are some of the farms he wants to claim, or all of them even, are they farms that were owned by people who obtained them during the time of apartheid? Do you know what I mean?
Some of them are, and some of them are not.
Yeah, so if he's only intending on claiming back the ones that are, I still maintain money should exchange hands. But I can understand the argument for those. I don't know enough to know if it's all farms or whether it's just those.
Perhaps a buying out of the investment made that harvest year.
I would argue the farm's worth is very important. If you're going to buy something, if you as a government are going to step in to give it back to the indigenous people, black people, because apparently a few generations of white people isn't indigenous enough anymore.
Nope.
Yeah. If you're going to do that, then you're going to have to sweeten the deal so that they then can live in a nice big mansion in Pretoria. Might I recommend the house Oscar Pistorius used to live in? It just has a few bullet holes in the bathroom door. It's a big house, though, from what I found. I saw a picture of it. Fuck me. It's huge.
I love seeing some of those houses.
It's almost as big as a gender-fluid prostitute's vagina.
I was so sad that picture was used in your thumbnail.
You are welcome.
I
you know what
woke
the best
up
thing
to
is?
that.
Hasn't been demonetized yet.
I love how it's not demonetized and you're making money off my 6 minutes too.
Donate to Trups Streamlabs. It's streamlabs.com/Cthulhu-Kin and Friends Show.
Such a dick.
Actually, if I was gonna be a real dick, I would have said streamlabs.com/Drunken Uncle.
He's gonna spend it on booze.
No, he's gonna spend it on toilet paper or a fridge.
Or a fridge. Good.
And I don't mean fridge refrigerator. I mean fridge the milkshake.
Oh,
that's a thing.
Okay.
Here. Yeah, that's a thing here. FRIJJ, I think.
Interesting. Is it anything like purple drink?
Fuck knows.
Oh.
I don't have anything adventurous in my fridge. I don't know what that stuff is.
Oh yeah, I'm not great in my fridge either. So
okay, so the final. I've got two more things. Okay, three things. Right. The first thing, just to a little laugh, I noticed there was an auction for a £25,000 portrait of Nigel Farage. It's a quite nice one, actually. I will link it in the chat for people who want to see it. But it didn't sell. It's really nice, but no one bought it. I can't imagine why. Thought I'd share that with you. There's a far-right protester gathering against Merkel's immigration policies.
Oh, this. Oh my god, I completely forgot about that shit.
Yeah. Do you know much about it?
Not a whole lot, except for what one person I saw on YouTube reported on it. Basically, a bunch of migrants were trying to rape some woman.
Yeah, so I'll give you the Cliff's Notes. Protest taking place in Chemnitz, I can't pronounce that correctly, following the death of a carpenter. Daniel Hillig, stabbed in the chest by two Syrian and Iraqi migrants. Daniel Zabel admitted leaking details of the arrest warrant, which sparked 2 days of violent anti-immigrant riots in the city, with federal police having to be drafted in after the state officers were outnumbered. And it has of course come out that that the 22-year-old Iraqi who was the migrant arrested has previous convictions. This, along with many other isolated instances, much like the first article, enough incidents happen, it starts to show a pattern, and it starts to, you can take the tinfoil hat off. Unfortunately, these instances with these migrants are far more conclusive about the failings of not multiculturalism, because this isn't multiculturalism, this is invasion. It's a charitable word. It's basically that. Because people coming to your country, refusing to do what your country does, you keep opening your arms and they just stab you in the chest and rape your women. German women look good at Oktoberfest, but they don't look so good in a fucking burqa. Giving me halal,
not good enough
beer.
And definitely not good enough to simply just take what you want. That's Germany has taken
homes from their local citizens and given them and earmarked them for migrants or immigrants or refugees, quotes, refugees. They have then, some, when they haven't gotten what they wanted, torched the place. They are not working. They are not doing anything of note. They are not integrating, which is a really important point. It's all well and good wanting to encourage a rich cultural diversity within your country's fabric, but it's not going to be the case if you're bred out of existence, all your goodwill along with it, and your Bohemian beer, which is very important to me, and the whammons. It's not going to help if what's left over are people who don't appreciate your society to begin with, therefore eventually becoming a negative on your society and your country, your economy, which will eventually affect you on the international stage, which, considering Merkel's grandstanding, you'd think she'd want to back down a little. How many is it? I'm sure it's over 1 million people have come into Germany over the last few years. That is an unacceptable number. I understand the point of people fleeing a country for danger, but people now being seen riding onto shores in Spain on boats, these aren't refugees. These are people who have run to the country, believe now that they've touched the soil, they're entitled to everything. And that's
honestly, it looks like a D-Day invasion.
It just doesn't look right. And I'm sorry, but a lot of the people who are refugees, I get why you. And that's what I was going to make. I get why some flee the country they come from. I get it. But this isn't the same thing people here had. They didn't have that same option. They had to either live under an oppressive ruler for a while until someone saved them, or they fought. Those are the options. And I get war has changed, but I also think that maybe we should do more to help you there, so you can continue to live there once we have fixed it. If we can resist the urge to then not fuck your people over, because apparently we also do that. I've noticed it. That's disturbing.
It's a troublesome thought, because they show up at our southern border and in Europe's coastlines and basically say we're fleeing the danger, and I can't help but picture Walter White in my head.
Yeah.
And say, I am the danger.
If you're going to flee the danger, that's fine. But if you're going to flee the danger but refuse to reform the part of you that would actually enable the danger, therefore potentially allowing it to continue to exist, then I think we're going to have a problem. I'm not saying renounce your faith. I'm saying there are aspects, or people even, there are imams I see all over Twitter that would actually gladly call out this bullshit, and more than happy to make sure people understand their faith from a more modern, and I'd argue more liberal, in the right context, liberal mindset, not the liberal everyone thinks of that's fucking ridiculous and communist.
Honestly, it would help them more so than even living feeling like you're being oppressed. Like let's give conservative traditional Muslims the benefit of the doubt for just one moment. And is that really a life that you want to live in a new country, where you look around and you think so little of everyone else around you that you're just like, everyone here deserves to die?
Yeah, I don't like that.
Right? It's such a bad thing that you would want to live with, versus what if you could just not worry about that?
Yeah. I really feel bad for people who are in these countries, but I don't believe the solution to the problem is to say, come here, we'll protect you. By the way, you can retain all that you are and not become a part of us. I think that's stupid. It's reckless and opens you up to, well, breeding more extremism, because then they themselves, while not adopting or integrating into our society, will become alienated for not integrating within our society. And I think that's another one of the, it's a horrible debate. And without a script, I feel really, it's dangerous. It's very dangerous to not integrate. And it's also one of those, it does cement the belief that integration fails. It's been shown that people from certain racial groups, when they get introduced to other indigenous racial groups, the indigenous group either accepts them or they move away from them if it's imposed. And it's been shown in the US and in UK to the point where more and more white people are moving up north because it's colder.
But like, even imagine like the influx of, let's say, Jewish immigrants. For the most part, they formed their living communities. Sure, there are certain places in New York, and actually several other places along the north mostly, but they have their own living communities, and they but they've assimilated, they've integrated into the rest of society. They still adhere to the laws of the state, and they accept that. And these are oftentimes the ones that you notice are the Orthodox Jews. But that's fine. Like they have handled all of that, and they have integrated properly. Why is Islam having so much of a problem with it?
Because Islam is several hundred years behind the rest of us, and apparently the ideal way of being like your prophet, again OBS doing it special, to be like your prophet is to retain remarkably arcane practices like slaughtering animals in back gardens, which apparently we're able to do in this country during Eid Mubarak. As far as I'm concerned, if I see any of that ever again, I'm going to find out where it was, and I'm going to beat the fuck out of the person doing it. Honest to fucking God, fake God, I do not like that in my Twitter. It's actually made me feel sick for the whole day.
I was really actually disappointed when I saw it too. I was just disappointed because it looked like it was done on like a fucking piece of blue plastic. I was like,
you mean the back garden one with the tarpaulins?
Yeah.
Yeah, that really pissed me off. That wasn't the only one. The one that actually made me sick was the one where there was a camel it looked like a London suburb. On a driveway, his head held up to a bathroom window with rope, and then someone went up to him with a bread knife and did it. And that camel didn't move until that happened. The camel was docile and calm, and I'm like, that's fucked up.
No,
I'm sorry.
I can't deal with that.
Right. I get you want to be more like your prophet, but unfortunately, if you want to try and do it in a technologically advanced, considerably more intelligent and advanced, better society, the only way to do that is to bring us down to your level. You're basically feminism. And I'm sorry if it doesn't work.
Barbarian, for fuck's sake.
I have to admit, vegans have a point with a lot of practices when it comes to mass battery farming animals. They have a point. They really do. This is something else that should be included, and I really honestly I've never had camel before, but I don't want to try it now because I don't know how after you've seen that. I don't know how it's been prepared. It just makes me very uncomfortable. Antiquated practices like this, why a number of religions have had to reform, and yes, they still fuck up and they still get called out on it. Islam is the only one that gets a free pass. It's not acceptable. You fuck up, you keep fucking up, you've proven yourselves to be complete shits. Disgusting, intolerant shits. Therefore, your faith needs to be reformed. And there are a number of imams that do say this. They think it needs reformation. There's no point saying you want to be like Muhammad, because Muhammad, by this year's standards, is a sex offender.
Among other things.
Among many other things. He was a warmonger. He was worse than anyone else, really. No, okay, not anyone else, but he was horrific.
Of the era.
Of his era, yes. Well, Anyway, I've rambled far too long.
Yeah.
Hello, Direwolf. I didn't know you were watching.
On a brighter note, you've got like 5 requests from various people in the chat for tentacle jobs and hugs.
Giggity. I'll show Direwolf some tentacle love if he wants it.
Miss Steam wanted a hug, I think.
Of course. Anyway, did you want to shill anything before we leave? Because I think we're actually done here. The only thing I had left was the anti-Semitism Labour stuff, and quite frankly, there's so much of it, I just don't know where to start. I just don't. There's so many instances of anti-Semitism or supposed anti-Semitism, and a number of them are not anti-Semitism, it's just out of context quotes. Or quotes, I genuinely seem to think that, like, Corbyn's been accused of being anti-Semitic for certain things he's said, but when I've heard what he said, it's not anti-Semitic. He's talking about certain people not understanding English irony. That's not anti-Semitic. That's people that majority of people within a certain culture not being able to understand a certain type of humour. He's right. But then there are other instances of anti-Semitism, and it's as bad as YouTube drama. It becomes hysteria, moral outrage, dogpiling, and quite frankly, like I said earlier, if Corbyn still has a job at the end of next week, I would be very surprised.
But no, in terms of shilling anything. I mean, I've got that video that I just put up yesterday on France's passing of a catcalling law that was originally supposed to help protect children from being abused by adults, but it had been gutted. And if you want to take a look at what ended up happening, go over to my channel and go and
Link in
check
the
out
description.
go check out that most recent video.
Okay, well, my tablet and my internet appears to have held up, minus the 2 glitches I think we had. But we still got to see Theresa May dance, so yay.
Yes, we did.
In theory, next week, political, we'll be doing this again. I might talk to you about that. Maybe we'll do it more often when PMQ's back in session, because PMQs should be back in session in 2 weeks' time. So next week we will do this again. If you guys would like us to continue doing this, then I have no problems with that as well, because I think being more active on this channel is good.
Yeah, I think it's been fun to have the conversation.
Yeah, and it's sort of improved with a certain rapport as well, because when we first started doing these, awkward.
Yeah, a little bit, but we've gotten down. We've gotten it down.
I tend to agree. Okay. Well, thank you all very much for joining us. Thank you, Trups or Trump. And have a lovely,
yes, thank you.
Have a lovely evening.